YouTube? Welcome back to Axis&Allies, the Garrison, Detroit here, coming to you from the bunker in Rothschild Park, New Jersey, along with my co-host, Gargantua, who's coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia, in the Canadian Pacific West Coast. All right, so welcome to another episode of Decoding Axes and Allies. And today we have a very special guest, the one and only Doug Friend, who happens to be the owner and president of Historical Board Gaming. I'm sure that many of you already know in the community that Historical Board Gaming has become the premier supplier of Axis and Allies gaming pieces. So having said that, allow me the opportunity to thank Doug for being here today. Thank you so much, Doug, for being here. And also thank you for just making our lives, Doug, a little bit better by spicing up our games, okay? And that's something that I am forever grateful, and something tells me that I'm not the only person that feels like that. So thank you once again. So,
from Tulsa, Oklahoma, yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the intro and look forward to everything. It's been great. I'm glad we've reached out and talked to each other briefly. So
yes, we have.
I'm looking forward to the interview here.
Well, so are we. We've been trying to set up the interview for quite some time now, but unfortunately we're working with 3 different time zones, so it gets a little bit complicated being able to set up an actual appointment. So finally we're here and we're going to get started. All right, so Gargantua, anything before we start?
Well, I think the big thing is maybe we should ask Doug just to give us a read on a couple of, I know he'd mentioned it before, but a couple of things that are coming up. Maybe some of his new games that are coming out, or anything key he wants to share with the audience. I think we should kind of get that out the gate. So I don't know, Doug, if you want to run with some of the stuff you have coming up and give us a preamble about what it's all about.
Okay. Well, we were trying to launch our Midway game before Christmas, but it didn't happen. The art looks good. We got the rule books in house, everything. I told, 2 weeks. But the biggest thing on that, and it's kind of a surprise, we've been doing 3D printing, and Midway was going to be our first game that was going to be all 3D printed pieces. And once we started it, I found out I was playing around with the resin and found out that I could actually color it. Oh. So we were actually successful at doing Japanese coloring, the pumpkin orange. And actually I have a piece here. This is one we get from China, the Yamato, that's the Yamato. And then I printed one here, as you can see the color.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were able to match it. So I said, hey, well, let's print it in color, in the correct color. But I haven't been successful with the US green yet. So we're working on it. Like I said, I'm real close. So I want to get those 3D printed to give the opportunity, because not everyone paints their pieces. I've got the hardcore people. I'm like, no, I want the plastic in the correct color, and then that's so a couple weeks away. And I think you'll start seeing more and more colored resin pieces coming down the pike. And then we got our 2025 game coming. I'm hoping March. I said no later than April. Everything's in production. Most of it's done, but we got to wait on the plastic. And actually one of the factions, there's 6 factions, but we got 2 molds. So one mold's in 3 colors and the other mold's the other 3 colors. But I'm going to do one faction 3D printed. It's the Caliphate. They got the smallest amount of units and they're black. And we have black resin. So I said, let's 3D print it, because they have their own iconic pieces. One of them is the carrier. I hate to give an American carrier to the Caliphate or a Chinese carrier. So what we did was he modeled an oil tanker. They took an oil tanker and they put a flat deck on it, and that made it their carrier. So you'll see that.
Awesome.
Oh, that's cool. That's a nice concept. I like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Very excited for that.
That was Will Henson's idea. I'm like, hey, I like it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
So on the vein of ideas, I want to throw one more thing out there. So in the original Pacific that came out in, I think, 2001, the Japanese were red, like bright red, not this burnt orange, limp wrist stuff, right? So what's the chances that we're going to get an update kit where you can get some, I don't know, artillery, destroyers, or whatever else is missing from the game in red? I just want to throw that out there, Doug. And am I the only person on the globe that asked for that, or what's the deal? You can give it to me straight. So.
Well, I mean, we do have, a couple of our molds done in the red for the Japanese. That you can get like the Yamato, all the ships. I think they're heavy artillery in Japanese. You can get in red. Now we don't have the same sculpt as they had in Pacific game, but we have tanks in the red. So we provide the yellow gold, the red, the pumpkin orange, and the rose for Japanese.
Awesome. All right, I'm into it. Thanks for the update. All right, Detroit. Well, what do you got for questions? Where do you want to start?
So I want the skinny on historical board gaming. Okay, basically, how and when did historical board gaming come about? Were you first a gamer, a player, and a guy that just your gaming evolved into historical board gaming, where you made the game pieces available to the community, or was it a reverse? Or basically, where did HBG come from?
Well, like many of you guys playing the game out of the box, you start playing enough, you're like, okay, I want more. It was a great game. Larry Harris did a great job. Once I was exposed to the classic Axis&Allies, I was like, this is great. I was a huge Risk player before that, and then you get the next level up, you got Axis&Allies, but there had to be more. So I made, my own homemade map, like I'm sure a lot of other people did. I made a big 4x8, hand colored it. And I was using GHQ tanks, big old ships. And of course the territories weren't broken up so small, but you could use the big pieces. And I was doing that in the early 90s, I believe by then. And, but I did that. And I think I told you earlier that, I was married 17 years, got divorced, kind of did my own thing, got into ballroom dancing, stopped playing games so much. We got married, so you're starting to build your life, and we were competing in dance and things like that. Right. And then I was a draftsman, designer, checker at a company. And in 09 or 08, 09, when the everything just kind of fell apart, the stock market dropped, I was contract. So they let 60 of us contractors go in one day. And I was like, man, this, I hate that. You rely on someone else to make your money, and then if something happens to them, if they're not responsible or whatever, you're out of luck. So I wanted to start my own company. That way I could at least have some residual income coming in. Well, 3 months later, I got another drafting job and started working again, but I started HBG. I started with the Battle Bucks. That was my first product. My son was at home. He had gone to film school, and he was, very good with Photoshop and all that stuff. So I said, this is what I want. And I was directing him. He was doing the Photoshop stuff. And we got our first product. I came to a local printer and started it. And I told my wife, I want to do this. And also, when was it Europe and Pacific first came out, the first edition, I was selling things on eBay. I was taking the pieces, painting them ivory, sticking some finished rondels on the existing rondels they had in their game, putting them together, here's a Finnish army, or here's a Polish army, and making my own rondels, and people were buying them. So I said, I think I have something here. So that's pretty much I started as just painting armies, breaking games together because people wanted more of these and not the whole game, and start selling them. And then I started slowly producing pieces, and then found a place to do rondels and acrylics and, and then plastic. That was the big jump, getting plastic injection molding.
So this is like around 2008, 2009 that this is all going on then.
Right.
Right,
yeah, I had taken a little vacation from gaming, probably, 10 years. Of course, I used to coach. I coached baseball, basketball, football for my kids. So my kids were growing up, I was really involved with them. Didn't have time to game much.
So then, having said that, since you have other responsibilities, what was the biggest challenge that you experienced when first starting HBG? Was it the family? or was it business?
No, because by then my kids were, Casey, my youngest, I think he had already moved out. He'd gone back to, well, I'm sorry, at that time he went to Korea. He went to teach English in South Korea. So I was, we were empty nesters. And my wife and I were trying to build, what we wanted to do. But my wife was very much backed me on this stuff. Of course, she thought I was crazy. She didn't understand gaming, like a lot of wives, like, I don't know what, but after, we took some personal money, to start the business. And I think in a year, I was self-sufficient, as in I didn't have to take any personal money out to supply the business. So I told myself, I'm going to use what I make to build it. So it built slower than I wanted it to, but I didn't want to go in debt doing it.
Who are your customers?
I'm sorry?
Your customers, who are they? Where are they from?
Well, the number one is here in the US, but Canada is number two. A lot of Canadian customers. I'm sure they're inside a lot more than we are, especially because of the seasons. And then, of course, Europe, Northern Europe. I'm really surprised. I don't have as many customers from like France or Italy. I have some, but I think there's some problems with Italy and their mail and stuff, because we've lost some packages, or say we lost packages get lost going to Italy. And we have some in South America, mainly Brazil. But I mean, we've shipped everywhere: Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore. But mainly Europe is probably, those are few and far between. I've even shipped to China, which first time I got something from China, I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So I figured just the fact that when you ship internationally, the further away, the more expensive it is to actually ship out the product. So I guess that makes it more difficult as a result.
Yeah, and funny you say that. We've been working on that. That's been one of my goals this year, is to because shipping keeps going up and up. We're trying to get shipping cheaper. So I think people realize this last week, FedEx and UPS, if you look on the website now, when you go, it's cheaper now than it has been. I'm getting some better pricing, and we're actually going to try to get some free shipping for domestic. So in the US, find that number and get some free shipping. So I'm working with some people on that too. So that should be, hopefully just 4 to 6 weeks away.
I'm sure that your customers, including myself, will love that very much. So it's definitely to place more orders. So Doug, what's a typical day like at HBG? At what time do you wake up? At what time you get there? How long do you work? How many hours? What is it like?
Oh man. Well, it's, I've always been I don't want to say workaholic, but some people might call me that. I get up at 5 o'clock. I'm here in the office probably 5:45 to 10 to 6. I get the printers all going, get my computer fired up. So I'm sitting down at 6 o'clock. Now I don't do anymore. I don't have to do any of the shipping, packaging, any of that stuff. I used to do the checking of all the orders, but I've got another guy that does all that. And when he's not here, then I do go and check. But pretty much I'm sitting here behind a computer on my butt and, working on emails, working with my artists. When they send me things, I'm either marking them up, sending them back. Like 3D models, same thing. I look at them. I've got editors that I mark things up, but I'm always trying to come up with more ideas on things. I'm like, hey, this would be cool. And so I've got, there's always a lot of things in the queue. And so I was telling someone we have another 55 rondels that are coming on my next batch that have been worked on. And then I've got another thing. I have several things in the queue, and then you got the games, right? But I'm always trying to get the acrylics. Hey, and I've got people with emails wanting specific ones. This would be really cool. And, I can't, every person would love their own game customized for them, for their own markers. And I can't do that, sell just a few, but spend the time and effort to do all the art.
But one of the beautiful things about historical board gaming is that you make it possible for the individual, your customer base, to be their own customizers. Basically, you can pick and choose what it is that you want. And if you want to take it a step further, like myself and many in the community who are out there, we take a little bit further, and we paint. We do things to our gaming pieces and so on. And of course, this is where you come in and you make that available, to the community, which is fantastic. And that's why I claim you are now the premier supplier of game Axis and Allies gaming pieces to the community, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so uh, moving on to the next question. Can you talk to us about your staff, the people that work for you? I know that recently there was an issue, or one of your former employees had a medical problem, and I know that we, the community, can now actually make a difference, and in return help out HBG by basically just helping out. So, can you tell us about Greg, your former employee?
Sure. Greg used to work for me a few years ago. He ended up moving to Phoenix, another job. He's a music pastor down there for a small church in Sun City. We went down there last year and visited. Really nice. My wife and I drove 16 hours straight through. Wasn't that bad though. But yeah, he was at his house. His wife heard a big thump in the other room. She went in there and he was laying on the ground, not breathing, heart stopped, and he does have a few medical issues. And they rushed him to the hospital. And luckily, his heart, she's actually works for a hospital. She's not a nurse, but she's trained in certain things. So she knew what to kind of do and look for. But he started breathing on his own again. His heart started again. But he got diagnosed with COVID as well when he was in there, which didn't help his condition. And, I called him a couple of times while he was in the hospital. And we were pretty worried. I mean, Greg was my age. I mean, it's funny because he's my age. We both have 3 kids. Our 3 kids are all the same ages, so we had them all at the same time, and we really bonded. So when he come in the morning and we talked about politics. We talked about our wives. We talked about life, church. We solved all the world's problems in the mornings, pushing orders together at HBG. But he's a dear friend of mine, and he's one of those guys you would do anything for, because he would do anything for anybody. If you're moving and you need help, he was first one over there. He's there at night. I mean, I've never seen a guy with more energy than Greg. And I do anything I can to help him. He's always, when you work for a church, you're not there for the money, because he does not make a lot of money. I was on the finance committee at the church where he was at. I know what all these people make, and he doesn't make a lot of money. So I was like, he's definitely not doing it for the big bucks, and I try to help him out where I can. And I'm hoping, and then Gargantua stepped in. I saw that thing you put on Axis&Allies.org, and that was you, right?
Yeah, it was me, Justin. My pleasure.
Yeah. I appreciate that, and that really touched me. I told my wife, we were out this last 2 days for celebrating our anniversary, and I showed it to her. It kind of choked me up, because it's like, wow. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, I can do anything I can for Greg, but this year has been a down year for my wife financially, and me leaving a salary job coming to HBG, I'm a downturn. Now, don't get me wrong, we are not in dire straits. It's just been a down year, like it has been for many people. And you just adjust, do what you have to do.
Yeah.
And so I gave him some money, but I couldn't do it all. I would love to, and if we're in a different situation, I could probably do more. So I said, well, what I can do, I have tens of thousands of dollars in inventory in my warehouse. So, if I can match rewards for people donating, I can do that. It's, I always tell you, it's just money. You can't, no person is, every person is worth what I can give or anyone can give to help them out. So I do appreciate it. And like I said, I'm matching rewards. You go to that GoFundMe to help him out. He doesn't make a lot of money. Insurance. I had someone from Canada saying, "Hey, Canada, there's free. We have free insurance." I'm like, "Well, we don't have free insurance in the U.S. You got to pay for it." I didn't say that, but it's just like we just don't have that. If we did, So I appreciate it. Anyone can do for him.
So how can we go about then? Those of us in the community that want to pitch in, we just go we go to GoFundMe. Do we have a name?
There's I sent a newsletter out that has the link, and then Gargantuous put it on Axis&Allies, the general discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And and then it's Greg Counts, Counce is the
all right, so I'll see if I'll put the link under the description of this episode. This way, our viewers can tap into that if they wish to help out, and hopefully they'll chip in as well. I'll be making the contribution myself as well from the channel. So I think that it's a worthwhile cause, and it's the right thing to do, especially because historical board gaming has done so much for the community in the past. I know that for every major event, Doug, HBG has been there. You've always given pieces to be awarded as prizes. I know that back in 2017 at the YG Invitational, I actually reached out to you and I asked if you could provide pieces or gaming pieces that I could customize and present to Larry Harris himself. And those pieces were donated by HBG. And of course, I just passed them on and eventually gave them over to Larry Harris. So I think it's only fair that the community do the same in return and help out HBG, who will then help out Greg as well. So I think it's a worthwhile cause without a doubt.
And I've already been receiving emails from people who've donated. Either they send me the receipt or they say, "Hey, I'm sending money in, but I don't want any rewards." And I'm not saying you do that, because if you need the reward points, you can't afford the money and you need the reward, that is fine. But I'm overwhelmed by a number of people that have emailed and just saying, "I'm just donating. I don't want to be compensated." And so that's very much appreciated, and I am forever grateful.
Well, we're a community and we're a team, and the Axis&Allies community, we are spread out, but I think together when it comes to a good cause, we're pretty united, and we care about each other, right? And like Detroit's saying, HPG's been there everywhere. Every time I've gone to an event and done something, is HPG's got a finger in it and trying to help us out and make it possible. I know TG6Con wouldn't have been possible in 2017 without HPG. And at the last BBR, I claimed HPG as my sponsor yet again. Took it to another championship, so I appreciate the sponsorship, Doug. And on that vein, actually, I wanted to ask Doug, do you still play games or not anymore? And if you do play games, what do you play?
Yeah, yikes! I don't get to play as often as I like, and I find myself doing the design and research. I'm like a research guru. I won't even say guru. I love research. I'm sitting there with watching TV at night with my wife, and I'm on the phone. "What are you doing over there?" I'm like researching. The stuff that we do here at HBG requires a ton of research, because we hopefully just don't. We hope people feel we just don't throw it together. It's researched out. Where are these seaplane bases? Who had what? What do these rondels look like? Actual, and what? So I don't get to play now. When I went 2 times this last year to go play test with Admiral Seabass on Global War 1985, and I did get to play one time, or I played both times. So that was fun. He had a lot of tutorials on YouTube for us guys. I think he had I was going to go over there, and I didn't have time. I'm okay, I'm going to watch these on the plane. I thought he had 10 videos, because he sent the list. They were playlists. Under each playlist, there was another 10. I was there was 100 videos. I was like, there's no way. I had to pick and choose so I didn't look like an idiot once I got there, because I do so much of the art and the project management. You don't get into the detail stuff, but you have to bring it all together. And when it comes to rules, I've got, for 1936, Morton and Brian are my rules guys. People will say, hey, Doug, what about this rule? I'm like, pass. Pass it off, because man, you're asking the wrong guy. I'll steer you down. When it comes to designing acrylics and working on, the guys always leave that up to me. The map, the rondels, the art, that I don't like this. I want it done this way. Or 1914, it got delayed because of me, because I didn't like the way it was going and things like that. So
I find
your question, no, I don't get to play like I like to. And I'm scared to go to a tournament because I get my butt kicked.
Don't worry, we can be in the same team. You'll be fine.
I find it
We'll
funny.
survive.
I find it funny that people they see you, Doug, and they presume that he must be like one of the best players in the world. And the same thing happens to me, where people come here to the Garrison and they presume that I'm like this big Axis and Allies guru because I have a channel, I got this oversized gaming table, I have a bunker, and they think I have all the answers and that I'm an amazing player. And far from it. I'm just an average guy, playing an average game. But so it's the perception that people have, which is totally off. And I'll leave that title of guru to the man there, Gargantua,
No.
who's the one that wins tournaments on a consistent basis. So
yeah.
So we have about 7 minutes left, guys. So let's just keep on moving with the next question. So, Doug, what is the future of HBG, and what projects are you working on that I know you mentioned the one game, but besides that, what else do you have coming down the pike or on queue that we should know about or that we should be looking into?
Well, like I said, Midway, and then we got 2025 coming out in the spring, and that's everyone's looking forward to that. And then probably in the summer, we should have Global War 1914 done and ready to send out. Way overdue, but it's finally coming to fruit there on that. And then the end of the year, we're going to hopefully have Global War 1985 out. Admiral Seabass is Chris. He's done things a little different. He is a one-man show on this one. He's designed it. He modifies the map. He modifies the rules. He does everything. Whereas other games, we've had certain people do certain things. So it took a little longer. Chris has done all of it. I mean, I had interjection. We've had other designers that interject, hey, I've got a problem here, got a problem play test. He does get that, but taking care of it all. So that one is coming together quicker than probably most of our other games. We have, I don't know if you read our newsletters, but we had 2 that I called black box games or black ops games, or I don't even know what I called them, shadow games. I didn't want to reveal them that, because we find out that as we reveal our games too early, what we got going, and then they get delayed, people kind of lose interest. And that's happened with Global War 1914. We just had so many things, and part of it was my fault. I've changed so many different things. So, but I think these 2 games that we got one of my designers working on, you'll really like. But I'm hoping to show more of that by the end of the year. But I just don't, so early in the development, I didn't want to show. And of course, we have Global War 1965. That'll be, 2022 for sure. And then we have Global War 1861 that will also be pushed to 2022. It's in development. But we have Global War 1805 and Global War 1756 down the road. So, and so it gives us a good span.
I'm impressed with the number of projects and games that you have going on there. It's quite a bit. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of money that, I have to put out a lot of money, development, artists, rules, stuff like that before you start actually seeing anything that come back. Yeah.
What's the quick math, if you don't mind, like, I don't know, in 30 seconds or less, sort of like you have a game you want to make, you need to put in so much money for development, and then you need to sell so many copies of the game. Like what is that? Like, you're like, what, it's $5,000 and you'll kind of get a game in a box, and then I need to sell I don't know, 200 of the game boxes and I'll make my money back. Like, is there any kind of quick math that you run through your head that helps you determine that?
Well, the only box game we did so far was America.
Yeah.
And, you had to do a minimum order of how many games there are. Of course, with the plastic, there are minimum orders. Of course, the plastic's not too bad, but the box sets, and it was kind of a niche game, wasn't a huge seller. And we only did enough plastic to do half of them. So it wasn't, I knew what I needed to sell on it, but we didn't even come close. And I had to put so much money out for a small company, it really hurt. That was the only year that HBG took a dip in sales, just because it expended all my money, all my working capital, to develop more other items. And I said, I don't think I want to do that again. Not for a while. People say, I put it in a box. For me to put Global War 1936 in a box, you're looking at probably $1,000. I mean, and then I would have to, and to put out that, minimum games, it would bankrupt me. I would love to do it. I would love to do it. Maybe some big company will come in and say, hey, we like this game, like they did Larry Harris's games, and of course, I don't know if we're in the same category as Larry Harris, because he's got a lot of games under his belt.
Yes, he does. Anyway, let me interject there, guys. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Okay, we have about 2 minutes left on the clock here. But once again, Doug, thank you for being here. We're very appreciative. We're very humbled by the fact that you made the time, the commitment to be here with us. We're going to make every effort on our end, and I'm sure that I'm speaking for Gargantua as well, to try to pitch in and help out Greg as much as we possibly can. So
appreciate it.
Okay, so until next time, guys, as I like to say, don't forget to bunker down and play. Until next time.